What if everything you thought was just random in your life wasn't random at all? What if the quiet restlessness you've been feeling, those strange coincidences, the people drifting away, were actually signs? Not accidents, not noise, but clear signals from life itself, whispering that everything is about to change? Most people miss the moment their life begins to shift. They brush off the discomfort, ignore the disruptions, and keep living like nothing's happening. But for those who notice the signs, those subtle but undeniable clues, the world begins to rearrange in powerful, almost magical ways. So, the real question is, are you paying attention? Now, let's talk about why you're here. Because if you're watching this video, chances are, you've been sensing it too. Something inside you already knows. The ground beneath your feet is shifting. It's subtle at first, a strange feeling you can't explain. Your favorite things don't hit the same. Conversations feel forced. The routine that once felt safe now feels like a cage. You might find yourself wondering, why am I suddenly so restless? Why does everything feel off? And while most people ignore that feeling, distract themselves, numb it, drown it in routine, you're not most people. You're here, searching for answers. And maybe, just maybe, you're on the edge of a breakthrough. In this video, we're going to walk through 8 clear signs that your life is about to change in a massive, irreversible way. These aren't vague, feel-good ideas. These are deep truths echoed by Stoic wisdom and real lived experience. Signs that, once you see them, you can't unsee. Because the truth is, transformation never arrives unannounced. It leaves clues, patterns, a trail, for those awake enough to follow. Each sign we'll explore might feel like a challenge at first. Losing people, facing setbacks, questioning everything, but hidden in the discomfort is direction. Hidden in the chaos is clarity. So if you've been feeling like something is shifting, if life feels a little louder, a little more intense, a little more alive, stay with me. You're not crazy. You're not broken. You're evolving. And everything you're about to hear might just confirm what your soul already knows. Let's dive into the first sign. 1. You feel a deep sense of restlessness. Have you ever woken up one morning, looked around at your life, and thought, none of this feels right anymore? The job you once pushed yourself so hard for suddenly feels meaningless. The people you used to love spending time with now seem distant. Like you've outgrown the conversations, the energy, even the silence between you. Your daily routine, that used to give you comfort and predictability, now feels like a cage. Everything that used to fit now feels tight, wrong, too small for who you're becoming. This isn't boredom. It's not a passing bad mood or a random emotional dip. No, this is something deeper. It's a quiet rebellion from your soul. It's your inner voice, the version of you that knows you're meant for more, softly, then insistently, saying, this life isn't it anymore. And the more you try to ignore it, the louder it gets. At first, you might feel confused. You may even question yourself. What's wrong with me? Why does everything suddenly feel so off? But the truth is, nothing is wrong with you. In fact, everything is beginning to align. Your spirit often senses when a transformation is near long before your mind can catch up. And that restlessness, that deep, nagging discomfort, that's the first knock on the door. If you don't answer, life will find ways to push you. Things start breaking down. The job opportunity vanishes. The relationship cracks open. Plans fall through. Not to punish you, but to move you. Because here's something most people never realize. The universe, life, fate, call it what you want, doesn't let you stay stuck when something greater is calling you forward. And if you won't leap, it will shake the ground beneath your feet until you do. That's why restlessness is not your enemy. It's a gift. It's the gentle crack in the wall of your current reality, the very first glimpse into the life you were meant to live. A whisper that says, you don't belong here anymore. Not in a painful way, but in a freeing one. And the longer you resist it, the more it hurts. Not because the life you're living is terrible, but because it no longer fits the person you're becoming. You can't thrive in a version of life that you've already outgrown. So the question isn't, why do I feel this way? The real question is, what is this feeling trying to tell me? Because restlessness, though uncomfortable, is a compass. It's the beginning of the path forward. And those who are brave enough to follow it, even when they have no map, are often the ones who discover who they truly are. Now, here's the thing, that transformation you're feeling, it doesn't just show up in your feelings. Sometimes, it shows up in your relationships, too. And that brings us to sign number 2, one that many people misunderstand. But few can avoid when real change is coming. Let's talk about it. 2. You're losing people, fast. Let me ask you something. Have you noticed certain people in your life quietly slipping away? Maybe it started small. A friend stopped texting. Someone close to you became distant. The people who used to light up when they saw you now greet you with dull eyes, or not at all. At first, it hurts. It stings in places you can't quite explain. You replay conversations in your head, wondering if you said something wrong. You question yourself. Did I mess this up? Was I not enough? What happened? But here's the truth. This isn't rejection. It's not punishment. It's preparation. When something big is about to shift in your life, when you're on the edge of a breakthrough, the universe starts clearing the path. And part of that clearing? It's people. Not everyone is meant to walk the next part of your journey with you. Some were only meant to stay for a chapter. And that chapter is closing. This is where a lot of people struggle. They try to hold on. They chase those who've already walked away. They try to force broken friendships back together, to breathe life into connections that have already died. But the truth is, holding on to the wrong people doesn't just weigh you down. It delays your destiny. Because here's what's really happening behind the scenes. Some people can sense your growth before you do. And it scares them. They see you evolving, leveling up, becoming someone they don't recognize, someone they may not be able to control, outshine, or rely on in the same way anymore. Instead of supporting your change, they resist it. They get jealous, dismissive, even cruel. Not because you've done something wrong, but because deep down, they know they no longer have a place in the future version of your life. And that's okay. Because real connections, real friendships, real love, evolve with you. They stretch, they shift, they grow. They don't crumble the moment you start becoming who you're meant to be. So if people are falling away right now, let them. It's not your job to chase what's already leaving. It's not your responsibility to make yourself small just to keep someone comfortable. Some people were only meant to walk beside the older version of you, the one you're now shedding. Think of it like climbing a mountain. You can't carry dead weight to the top. And sometimes, letting go is the exact thing that frees you to rise. So, don't panic. Don't beg for explanations. Don't cling to what's fading. Trust that the universe is making room. Room for the right people to walk with you when the next chapter begins. And if this feels familiar, if you've been watching your circle shrink while your sense of purpose grows, you're not alone. In fact, it's one of the clearest signs you're on the edge of something big. And speaking of signs, there's another one that often shows up next. It's strange, it's subtle, and once you notice it, you can't unsee it. Let's talk about synchronicity. 3. Strange synchronicities keep happening. Ever glance at the clock and it's 11:11 again? Or maybe you hear a random word in a podcast, then the same word pops up in a book, on a street sign, in a stranger's conversation, within hours. You think of someone you haven't talked to in years, and out of nowhere, they text you. You hear the same song, over and over, at moments that feel significant, like it's the soundtrack to something you haven't figured out yet. At first, it seems like coincidence, but deep down, you know it's not. These moments, these strange repetitions, they're not accidents. They're synchronicities, and they're one of the clearest signs that life is speaking to you. Loudly, directly. It's the universe, your higher self, whatever name you give it, showing you that you're either on the right path, or being nudged toward it. And here's the thing, it never uses words. It uses patterns, repeating numbers, familiar faces, unexpected signs, moments that feel like déjà vu. Like reality is folding in on itself to show you something you would have missed if you weren't paying attention. This is what happens when something major is aligning behind the scenes. The more powerful the shift coming your way, the stronger these signs become. At first, it might be subtle. You keep seeing 333. You dream about someone, and then they show up the next day. You feel pulled to look up a book, and that book ends up changing how you see your life. But here's where most people go wrong. They brush it off. They tell themselves they're imagining it. They laugh and say, well, that's weird, and then move on like nothing happened. But synchronicities are not just signs. They're invitations. They're the universe's way of tapping you on the shoulder and saying, hey, pay attention. There's something you need to see. Something you need to do. So, When these things start happening, stop and ask yourself, what was I just thinking about? What decision was I about to make? Why did that word, that number, that person show up now? Because more often than not, they show up right before a choice. Right before a pivot. Right before a moment that could change everything. It's like the path ahead of you is being gently lit, one flicker at a time, so that even if you don't have the whole map, you still know where to step next. But if you ignore the light, it fades. The signs stop showing up, not because you're being punished, but because you've stopped listening. So the next time you see that same number again, or hear that same song at just the right moment, or run into someone at the exact time they could change your life, don't brush it off. Pause. Lean in. Ask, what is life trying to show me right now? Because chances are, the answer is already there. You just have to be willing to see it. Now, for some people, synchronicity shows up before the breakthrough. For others, it comes right after something unexpected shows up at their door. Which brings us to the next sign, and it's one that often catches people completely off guard. Let's talk about unexpected opportunities. 4. Unexpected opportunities appear. You're going through life, following your usual routine, same coffee, same commute, same inbox. Then suddenly, boom, something lands in your lap. An email from a company you didn't even apply to, offering you a position you secretly always wanted. A random conversation with a friend of a friend turns into a life-changing connection. An idea hits you out of nowhere while you're in the shower, so vivid, so electric, that it makes your heart race. It feels random, surprising, almost too good to be true. But here's what most people don't realize. It's not random. It's alignment. When your life is about to shift, when you're being called into a new chapter, life starts opening doors you didn't even know existed. And those doors? They don't stay open forever. That's what makes this sign so powerful and so dangerous to ignore. Because most people don't act. They overthink. They doubt. They tell themselves, I'm not ready. Or, maybe next time. Or, what if it's just a fluke? And by the time they finally feel ready, the door has already closed. Opportunities don't wait. They show up. They knock. And if you don't answer, they move on. It's not personal. It's just momentum. The people who succeed, who actually step into the life they're meant for, aren't always the most talented, the most experienced, or even the most confident. They're the ones who recognize the moment and move. Even if they're scared. Even if it's inconvenient, even if they don't have all the answers yet, because they understand something vital. The right moment doesn't come twice. Think about it. How many times have you looked back and thought, if only I had said yes to that? If only I had followed up on that message? If only I had trusted that gut feeling? The difference between a life that transforms and one that stays the same often comes down to a single moment of action. So when life offers you something, a chance, a connection, an idea that makes your soul light up, don't ignore it. Don't wait for a sign. It is the sign. The universe doesn't shout. It opens a window and waits to see if you're paying attention. So the next time something unexpected lands at your feet, pause before you walk past it. Ask yourself, what if this is the very moment everything begins to change? Because the truth is, it just might be. Now, sometimes these opportunities are obvious. Other times, they start with a strange pull. A quiet urge, a whisper that says, try something new. And that brings us to the next sign, one that often starts not with action, but with intuition. Let's talk about that feeling you just can't shake, the urge to do something totally different. 5. You feel a strange urge to do something new. It comes out of nowhere. You wake up one morning and feel this weird, persistent urge to do something different. Maybe it's moving to a new city, one you've never even visited before. Maybe it's learning a skill you never thought you'd care about. Or starting a project that makes zero logical sense, but just won't leave your mind. At first, you brush it off. Where did that even come from? That's ridiculous. I don't have time for that. But the feeling doesn't go away. It lingers. It whispers. And every time you ignore it, something inside you feels just a little more restless. That's because this urge isn't random. It's a signal. It's the voice of your future self calling you forward. And the more your life is about to change, the louder that voice becomes. See, when you're on the verge of transformation, your spirit knows before your mind does. You start craving things that don't make logical sense, but make complete sense on a deeper level. You're being pulled. Not by fear, but by potential. It's like something inside of you is rearranging, making space for a life that hasn't fully arrived yet, but is already on the way. This is how change often begins. Not with a grand decision, but with a strange desire that you just can't shake. And here's the truth most people miss. If you ignore it, life will start getting really uncomfortable. You'll feel stuck, unmotivated, empty, even when everything around you seems fine. Because deep down, you'll know you're meant for something more, and you're not answering the call. That old life, the habits, routines, even people, they start to feel suffocating. Not because they're bad, but because you've outgrown them. This is your soul's way of saying, you're not meant to stay here. So when you feel the pull, when something inside you lights up at the thought of starting fresh, diving into the unknown, or simply trying something new, listen. Even if you're not ready, even if it doesn't make sense on paper, even if no one else understands it, because chances are, that urge is not a distraction. It's a direction. It's the spark that leads to something bigger. Something that might not look like much at first, but ends up changing everything. So don't wait for clarity. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for the perfect time. The perfect time is the moment you feel the nudge. Because ignoring it won't make it go away. It will only make you feel more disconnected from the life you're meant to live. And speaking of discomfort, sometimes, when you're on the brink of something great, life doesn't just whisper. It throws roadblocks in your way. Let's talk about the next sign, the one that shows up as resistance. Chaos, and everything seemingly going wrong all at once. 6. Obstacles start showing up everywhere. Everything was going smoothly, until it wasn't. The job opportunity you were counting on suddenly falls through. The relationship you thought was solid begins to crack. Your plans, the ones you carefully laid out, unravel one by one. Like threads slipping through your fingers. It feels like the universe is working against you. Like no matter what you do, something always goes wrong, and you start to wonder, why is everything falling apart all at once? But what if it's not falling apart? What if it's falling into place? Here's the truth that most people never see in the moment. When a breakthrough is coming, resistance almost always shows up first. Obstacles are not always there to stop you. Sometimes, they're there to shape you. Because transformation, real, lasting transformation, doesn't come without pressure. Just like diamonds aren't formed without heat. Gold isn't purified without fire. You, too, are being refined. Every setback, every delay, every unexpected detour is part of the test. And not a test you pass with perfection, but with perseverance. The universe isn't asking, can you do this easily? It's asking, can you still move forward when nothing goes according to plan? That's the moment of truth. That's when the old version of you starts to burn away, and the new you begins to rise. But here's where most people give up. They take the obstacles as a sign to quit. They say, maybe this just wasn't meant to be. They turn around just steps before the breakthrough. And they never know how close they really were. But if you can pause, breathe, and ask yourself, what if this is the pressure before the shift? What if this pain is just preparation? Then everything changes. You stop fighting the chaos. You start trusting the process. You stop running from the struggle, and start walking through it with strength. Because that's how the strongest, clearest, most unshakable version of you is born. So if right now it feels like your world is full of blocks, detours, resistance, and roadblocks at every turn, don't lose faith. It doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. It might mean you're closer than ever to something incredible. And the only way out is through. Now, here's what's fascinating. Right around this point in the journey, something even more intense begins to happen. Not in the outside world, but in how you see it. Let's talk about the next sign, the one that reveals people, places, and truths you never noticed before. 7. You start seeing the truth about people. It's subtle at first. A conversation that once felt normal now feels off. A smile that used to comfort you suddenly seems forced. The supportive comment from a friend now carries a strange edge, like envy wrapped in politeness. And then, it hits you. You're not imagining things. You're starting to see people for who they really are. Not the version they present. Not the masks they wear. But the truth beneath it all. This is what happens when you're growing, when your awareness expands. Your vision sharpens. You start noticing what you used to overlook. The half-truths, the subtle manipulations, The conditional support that was never truly unconditional. At first, it's unsettling. You might wonder, have people always been this fake? The answer? Yes. But you were too distracted, too trusting, too hopeful to notice. Now, you're awake. And with that clarity comes a deep and often painful realization. Some of the people you trusted were never really for you. They were for your comfort, not your growth, for your old self, not the person you're becoming. And it's not just people. You start seeing through situations. Too. That job you used to brag about? Now it feels like a cage. The relationship you used to fight so hard for? Now it feels draining, one-sided, heavy. The lifestyle you once thought was your dream? Now it feels hollow. It's like a fog has lifted. You can finally see the structure behind the smiles, the patterns behind the praise, the control behind the kindness. And yes, it hurts. No one tells you how lonely this kind of clarity can feel. But here's what you need to remember. This is not the end of something. It's the beginning. It's the beginning of truth, of living without illusion, of choosing people and paths that align with who you are now, not who you used to be. Because the old version of you tolerated things you should have questioned, settled for things you should have challenged, and ignored truths you're now brave enough to face. And that's not weakness, that's growth. So when these truths start pouring in, don't run from them, don't numb them, don't convince yourself you're just being too sensitive. You're finally being honest. And yes, it will cost you. Some friendships will fade, some environments will become unbearable, some relationships will collapse under the weight of your truth. But what you'll gain in return is freedom. Because you cannot build a real life on fake connections. And once you begin to see clearly, you'll never want to go back to pretending. So don't. Now, after all this clarity, all this internal shaking and shedding, comes something unexpected. Something quiet, something powerful. Let's talk about the final sign, the one that doesn't scream at you, but sits with you. Like a calm in the middle of the storm. 8. You feel a strange sense of peace amid the chaos. Everything around you is shifting. People are walking away. Plans are falling apart. The future feels uncertain, even a little scary. And yet, deep inside, you feel calm. Not the kind of calm that comes from knowing all the answers, but the kind that whispers, everything is happening exactly as it should. You can't explain it, but somehow, you know this isn't the end. It's a beginning. While most people panic when life gets messy, running back to comfort, clinging to the past, you're different. You've stopped resisting the storm. You're standing still in it. Because somewhere deep within you, there's a voice that keeps saying, this is necessary. This is growth. Keep going. You're no longer afraid of what you're losing. You're no longer grieving the old version of yourself. Instead, you're starting to trust the process. You're beginning to believe that the chaos is not a punishment, it's a clearing. That things aren't falling apart, they're falling into place. This is one of the most powerful signs of all. Because peace in the middle of transformation is not a coincidence, it's confirmation. It's your soul telling you, you're finally in alignment. You may not know exactly what's ahead, but for the first time in a long time, you're not afraid of not knowing. That calm you feel, that stillness, that's the proof you're exactly where you need to be. So if the world around you is noisy, but your heart feels quiet, trust it. If everything is crumbling, but you feel lighter, trust that too. This is not the collapse. It's the becoming. If you've recognized even one of these signs in your own life, you're not imagining it. Your life is shifting. Something big is unfolding. And the universe, your inner wisdom, your path, has been sending you clues all along. The only question is, are you listening? Because the people who transform their lives aren't the ones with perfect plans. They're the ones who notice the signs and follow them. So, which sign resonated with you the most? Drop it in the comments. Let's talk about it. Let's grow through it, together. And if this video spoke to something inside you, hit that like button. Subscribe for more deep, raw content like this. And don't forget to turn on notifications, so you never miss a moment that could change everything. Remember, you're not lost. You're just being rerouted to the life that's meant for you. Keep going. You're closer than you think.